Reporting in the New York Times quickly revealed that the quick turnaround was not the original plan. Quote, text messages sent from Cruz's wife to friends and Houston neighbors on Wednesday revealed a hastily planned trip. Their house was, quote, freezing, as Ms. Cruz put it, and she proposed a getaway until Sunday. Ms. Cruz invited others to join them at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun, where they had stayed, quote, many times, noting the room price this week, $309 per night, and its good security. The text messages were provided to the New York Times and confirmed by a second person on the thread who declined to be identified because of the nature of the texts. A massive leadership failure on full display, and calls for Cruz's resignation have swelled, including from the Texas Democratic Party, whose chair called Cruz an enemy to our state by abandoning us in our greatest time of need, adding, quote, Cruz is emblematic of what the Texas Republican Party and its leaders have become: weak, corrupt, inept, and self-serving politicians who don't give a damn about the people they were elected to represent. The lack of leadership when Texas needed it most is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Phil Rucker's here, Washington Post senior Washington correspondent and MSNBC political analyst. Also joining us, our friend Elizabeth Newman, former Assistant Secretary for Threat Prevention and Security Policy for the Department of Homeland Security. She is now the co-director of the Republican Accountability Project. And Julian Castro is here, former San Antonio mayor, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Obama, and a 2020 presidential candidate. I'll start with you, sir, and your knowledge of the state, your knowledge of Ted Cruz. I have to say, covering Ted Cruz's conduct during a natural disaster, it threatens to sort of overshadow his insurrection-adjacent conduct over the last 6 weeks. But taken together, it seems out of step and out of the mainstream of even the Texas GOP.
Yeah, I think the common denominator, and one of the reasons I think this is politically fatal for Ted Cruz, is that it demonstrates that he's in it just for himself. The common denominator was he led that effort in the Senate to try and overturn the results of the election because he was trying to ingratiate himself to the Trump base in case he runs in 2024 for president again. Same thing here. He comes back after he gets caught, even though he intended to stay in Cancun, apparently through the weekend, comes back and then says, well, it's the perception. That's the reason that I came back. It's all about trying to get an advantage with the Trump base, with voters he thinks he's going to need in Texas. It's not about the people. It's not about the folks who were hurting these last few days in Texas. It's all about how something's going to look. And that is exactly what people hate about politics. And that is now the brand of Ted Cruz. And
Julian, I have to say that before the country saw what they saw this week from Ted Cruz, any one of us who were anywhere near him 25 years ago at the beginning of his political career saw this side of him. And I wonder, Beto O'Rourke came very close in his race against him, but I wonder if you think there's real political peril for what has been revealed about Ted Cruz. I never thought it was very Texas to tolerate being taunted and bullied by someone like Donald Trump, who called your wife ugly and accused your father of being part of the assassination of JFK. Do you think this represents another sort of brick in that case against Ted Cruz as lacking core principles?
Oh, absolutely. I also think, politically speaking, that he's vulnerable on both ends. He's vulnerable in a primary because people perceive him as phony and weak. And he's going to be vulnerable in the general election, as you mentioned. Beto O'Rourke got within 2.5 points in 2018. If he decides to run for re-election for his Senate seat instead of running for president, then I think he's going to have another at least very close race, if not get beaten. He may not make it even out of the primary, though. It's interesting, Nicole. If this had been Donald Trump, I think what he would have done is go to Mexico, and then when he got caught going to Mexico, he would have said, I'm in Mexico. There's nothing that I could do about it. And hey, look, he would have made up some reason for why that's the best thing to happen in the world. The Trump base didn't like what Cruz did, I think, because they saw him backing down. Now, I don't agree with that, but I think he looked weak in their eyes, and he looked self-interested in everybody else.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.